Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am the House Hacking Mom, and today we are going to be talking about all things Thanksgiving and hosting Thanksgiving and how to not lose your mind during Thanksgiving. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and let's jump right in. So the first thing I do when I'm going to be hosting any event really, but particularly something like Thanksgiving or Christmas, or an event where you're going to be hosting a lot of people, not just a few, but a lot of people, the first thing I think about is seating. Where is everyone going to sit? I live in a smaller townhouse. This is our only table. This is a dining table that seats only 6 people. So this, of course, is not going to do for our big Thanksgiving dinner that we're going to be hosting. And how I'm going to be solving this problem this year is we are going to be borrowing a big round table from our church, and then just getting a few extra folding chairs as well. I have been a guest at many different events, whether it be a wedding or another holiday event. I have been to parties where not everyone had a place to sit, or only the adults had been thought about. The children didn't have a place to sit, and then you had to hold your children on your lap, and that's fine. You have to make things work when you have to make things work. But ideally, I think it's really nice and shows your thoughtfulness as a host if you make an effort to have a seat for everyone who's coming, including children and even babies. So if you know there's going to be a lot of little kids coming, maybe shoot the moms a text and ask them to bring their high chairs, if they have a portable high chair or something like a Sally seat, whatever paraphernalia they're going to need to help their children to sit, and then you just make sure that you have a place for them to be. So that is the first thing I do when I am planning an event. And then the second thing I think about is, of course, the food, the menu. What are you going to be eating for Thanksgiving? Now, I really enjoy thinking about this because all different parts of the country when it comes to Thanksgiving are different. Here in the South, we are in upstate South Carolina. It's a little bit of a blend. So we might have rice at our Thanksgiving table, which a lot of Northerners would find very strange. We might even have something like macaroni at our table. You might even see something like collard greens, which you probably wouldn't see at your Thanksgiving table in the Pacific Northwest, for example. So if you serve anything that is unique to your area of the country, please let me know in the comments below. I do find it fun just to see how all different parts of this massive country celebrate Thanksgiving. But when it comes to menu planning, especially with Thanksgiving, and you're having a lot of guests, I think this is a wonderful opportunity to bestow the blessing upon your guests to bring food. Normally, when I am hosting, something like a birthday party, for example, or a tea party, I don't typically ask the guests to bring a lot of food, maybe ice or drinks or something really simple like that. But Thanksgiving is a little bit special because the whole aroma around the Thanksgiving holiday is sharing, giving, thankfulness, sharing your bounty with other people. So I think part of celebrating that attitude around Thanksgiving is to allow your guests to show up with arms just brimming full of things to share with others. Now, you can reserve for yourself the things that you like to cook, but I really recommend that you think about what types of food that you serve at your Thanksgiving table that will reheat well or don't have to be eaten warm. So this would be things like desserts. If you eat cake or pie, those sorts of things don't have to be served warm. Rolls can be easily reheated. Pretty much any starch can easily be made ahead in the morning. Your guests can bring it with them, and then you share it together. Something you probably don't want to ask other people to bring would be the vegetables, for example, because they don't always reheat to their original glory, especially if there's something like blanched green beans, for example. They're not going to be quite the same when they're reheated. Plus, oven real estate and stovetop real estate is a real problem when it comes to Thanksgiving. So the things that people bring, it's best if they don't have to be reheated. Ask people to bring salads, the cranberry sauce, those sorts of things that can be refrigerated, and they will be wonderful when you do finally eat them. Other tips when it comes to menu planning is to really use this as an opportunity to sort of lay down your own desires for what you would like to eat at your Thanksgiving, and really think about what would your guests enjoy eating for Thanksgiving. Do you have a party that has lots of little kids. This is not the time to try to pull out some really sophisticated food, and they would really just enjoy it, and their parents would appreciate it if you served simpler food, things that they're not going to have to force their kids to eat. Or do you have a family who really likes to be a little bit adventurous and try some new and different foods? If you've never tried it, serve a little bit of seafood at your Thanksgiving table. You think about the Pilgrims, they would have had lobsters at their Thanksgiving table. That would actually be a very traditional Thanksgiving food to share, even though you might not typically see it on the average Thanksgiving table. And also going along that same train of thought and catering to what your guests might really enjoy. Don't die on the hill of the protein that you like to eat. So maybe you're a really big turkey person, but you've noticed everyone else in your family kind of prefers ham. So this might be the year that you make the food that everyone else wants to eat instead of the year that you make the food that you want to make. Just throwing that out there. This is something that I struggle with pretty much every year. So yeah, it's a good place to start and to get yourself in the correct frame of mind for thinking about what is Thanksgiving actually about. It's not about me. And one last little tip when it comes to Thanksgiving food, especially talking food here in the South, our Thanksgiving tables tend to really lack anything in the acidic family of food. We may have some olives or pickles, but other than that, there's not enough acid anywhere on the table other than the cranberry sauce. There's a lot of heavy starchy foods. So maybe just think about that while you're preparing your menu and make sure you have all the components of a well-rounded meal. This is how they think about making menus at restaurants. You want to make sure you have something that's acidic. You want to have something that's sweet. You want to have something that's bitter. And you just want to kind of combine all those things together to make a well-rounded meal. So maybe just think about that a little bit while you are preparing your Thanksgiving menu. And then after you've done your menu planning, you of course want to think about decor. This year I am actually going to be straying away from the oranges of Thanksgiving, and I'm going to be focusing more on these sort of deep greens and then this sort of yellow gold of a beeswax candle. Those are kind of my inspiration for my Thanksgiving table this year. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but it's going to be following something like this. I also have been gifted lots of beautiful dried hydrangeas from my sister-in-law this year, and she is so good at doing that they are some beautiful dried blues and greens, and that's just going to be a little bit unique and different, I think, for our Thanksgiving table this year. And while I myself am not actually going to be doing a literal cornucopia, I do think it's fun to think about when you're decorating for Thanksgiving that this is really supposed to be a season of abundance. So this is a good opportunity to pull out all the stops and do a lot of maybe one thing. So maybe a large bowl just bursting full of apples and pears, for example, or dishes of candy out for kids, because that's really part of what this season is all about. And for some other ideas when it comes to an abundance look for decorating, I got this huge 18-ounce package of cinnamon sticks off of Amazon because they're cheaper than getting them otherwise around here. But you can tie these in little bundles and stick them around the food as a garnish. I got a huge thing of cloves that I will be putting in our homemade wassail that we'll be making. But you can also stick these in some oranges for a really pretty display. But just little touches like this go a long way, and they're not that expensive. And that way you don't have to go out and use a bunch of artificial stuff if you don't want to. And then next I start working on my timeline for preparing for the actual day. So this would be preparing the food and also, of course, cleaning and preparing for everyone to be there. And I think it's a good idea to start preparing several days before, because what else are you going to do? You're just going to be thinking about all the things you have to do, so you might as well just accomplish some of them. And don't trick yourself into thinking that if the floor wasn't mopped the night before, then it's not going to be clean at all. It's better to mop the floor 2 days before than to be trying to mop it the night before when you're super stressed. It's better to do these things a couple days ahead of time and not worry about everything being perfect. Things you want to do the night before: wipe down the guest bathroom. You want to lay out your clothes for the next day, and you want to really either lay out or lay eyes on all the ingredients that you are going to be needing the next day. Just make sure you kind of know where everything is. Make sure that your turkey is thawed or well on its way to being thawed. Actually, that really should go in the week leading up. You should be putting your turkey into the refrigerator. If you're going to be cooking a turkey or some other large poultry, you want to make sure it is fully thawed. And if it's a large turkey, that can take upwards of a week. So it's important to start doing that ahead of time. But you've got your bathrooms wiped down, you've got your clothes laid out, you've got the ingredients that you need kind of situated. And then in the morning when you wake up, I recommend that you go ahead and get yourself mostly ready. Put an apron on and just let that be your look for the day. Instead of wearing, workout clothes until 30 minutes before the guests arrive, and then you're having to run upstairs and try to get changed and not burn the food that is currently on the stove that you're cooking at the same time. So it's better to just go ahead and get ready, and then maybe you just freshen up a little bit before people arrive. And while we're talking about accidentally burning food, I think the most important thing to have done is the protein. If you're cooking a protein, if you're ordering a ham, maybe you're just warming it up. But most people will probably be doing a turkey. So a large turkey takes about 4 hours start to finish. So that is, putting the rub on it, doing whatever you're going to do to it, stuff it, whatever, and then cooking it, and then you want to let it rest. So start counting backwards, and I think it's a good idea to have your turkey out of the oven at least 30 minutes, if not an hour before you are planning on eating. Because if the turkey is out of the oven, that means the oven is free to do whatever it needs to do. If you need to roast some vegetables really fast, if you need to warm up some side dishes, what you don't want is for your oven to be taken up by this massive turkey and you're not able to really move along with the dinner because the turkey is taking up all of your oven real estate. So it's a good idea to think backwards and try to have your turkey done first, because it's huge, it's gonna stay warm, and it doesn't have to be, super piping hot. Just make sure that your gravy is nice and hot. But really, if your bird is well rested, it's gonna be that much juicier. If you salt it appropriately 24 hours before to help it retain its moisture, cook it, and then let it rest for an hour before you slice into it. That will go a long way towards making sure you have a nice, moist bird. And the last thing I do before Thanksgiving is I make sure I have some really great disposable leftover containers for people to take home. I went ahead and got these at Aldi, and these should work perfect because we have 2 families coming over for dinner, so they can each take one of these and fill them up with all of their leftovers. To be honest, there's no point in making all that food for Thanksgiving if you're not going to have leftovers, and especially if you're not going to have leftovers to send home with people. So make sure you make enough food because nobody wants to cook the day after Thanksgiving. So I hope that video was helpful for helping you to prepare for hosting Thanksgiving or really any large family holiday event. Please make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I make videos like this every week about frugal living, healthy eating, and minimalist parenting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Happy Thanksgiving!